Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrible Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And we're always glad to get updates. You know, there are people in the parish that really work tirelessly to make sure that we have what we need, and more importantly, remove the things that we don't need. Welcome back to the program, Clay Naquin. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Clay, of course, Shelburne Parish Director of Solid Waste and Vegetation. And, you know, Clay, a lot of people have some misconceptions about these different programs. And y'all have done this demolition program, and y'all are still doing the regular debris pickups. But people just need to understand that there are a lot that go into this. And we're dealing with FEMA, whom you haven't really even spoken to until coming up pretty soon.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we've asked the people, right now we're on the volunteer demolition for people who have structures that want their property demoed. We've had right now we had 42 approved for FEMA to demolition.
Right.
But there's a lot of steps in getting those houses done. The ones that have been declined by FEMA, the only thing we got back from FEMA is eligible or not eligible.
Right, and they don't give you an explanation.
None.
You know, it's almost like getting information from insurance. They say, oh, here's some money, but they don't even tell you what it's for. You got to figure everything out, right?
Correct. And on this here, when they came in and we had probably about 100 that was deemed ineligible by FEMA with no explanation on anything. We finally got a hold to their ear, and we're going to have a phone conference with the supervisors that made these decisions next week, and hopefully I'll have some answers for the public because it's very painful when the people call me and why can't, what do I need to do? And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know.
Now, each of them should have a case number, right? So
Correct.
Each of those cases, of those 100 that have been declined, it may be as simple as there's more than one name on the title, and we've got to get approval from everybody before we do it, right?
Right. Well,
like it may be a title issue is what I mean by that. There
Right.
could be any of a number of issues, but you have a case number that you can talk with them about.
Right. If until I get with FEMA and find out what's their reasonings behind each one of them, we actually had some good dialogue with GOSEP, the Office of Debris, Office of Homeland Security.
Right.
And they are in the same position we are. They are
Okay.
trying to get information from FEMA. They will also be on this phone conference next week, pushing for answers, fighting for Terrebonne Parish to get us some answers and tell us where we're going to go. It's not only for this case, but we want to know why you're rejecting it for if we happen to have something else, so that we can be prepared. Okay, this is why they did this last time. Doesn't mean that's going to mean anything the next storm,
Right.
but at least we'll know those answers.
And listen, it's one of the things we talked about with Earl Hughes all the time, Director of Emergency Preparedness. What did we learn?
Correct.
What did we learn from this process? My gosh, we never want to have the severity of this again. But if we do, we want to be able to be clear about what do we do better. And we'll know,
Correct.
hey, if this is the case, you need to know you need to do this, this, and this.
Correct.
And if you do that, then it'll be approved.
Right.
It may get kicked out of their system for something very insignificant. Oh, we only had a P.O. box instead of an address.
Correct.
Right? I had that yesterday. They were like, oh, we can't go in our system. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, all we have is a P.O. box. We don't have it. I said, well, okay, I'll give you the address. They changed the address, and everything went through. Right? And so
Yes.
it's some of those things we need to learn.
Right, and that's what I'm hoping to learn next week at our phone conference with FEMA.
Okay.
Is that I just want some direction. I want to know, I need to be able to tell the public, these people who are in dire need of their houses being demoed, why FEMA's saying no.
And so we had about 100 or so rejected, and there were a number of people that just kind of opted out, right?
Correct.
We knew that was going to happen because we were like, no, apply, and if you choose to opt out for whatever reason, if insurance or someone else and you demo it yourself, that's different, but do that. And but you've got 42 right now that are eligible.
Correct.
And there are a number of steps before you can knock those houses down.
Correct.
Or those dwellings.
Well, yeah, and before we can even, we've got to contact the homeowner again, and
Right.
most of these people are displaced, so
Yeah.
it's taken us a little while. We did the first batch of 20,
Right.
and we just finally got in touch with everybody on that first batch of 20, and then We got to do set up asbestos testing. FEMA, they make us go through a lot more stuff. So we got to make sure, and to be honest with you, out of the 20, 10 of them came back with tested positive for asbestos.
And that makes things, when they have asbestos, it makes things so much more difficult because you've got more steps to take to protect the people doing the demolition.
Correct. We got what they call burrito wrap it. They get a trailer, they line it, they put everything in it, and then they wrap it up, and it's got to be direct haul to a facility that takes hazardous waste.
Right.
And then there's the utilities. Most people say, well, my utilities are disconnected. I'm not paying no utilities. But usually the electrical line is still ran to the house. The
Right.
sewer is still hooked up, so we have to have a plumber. We have to have electricians come in and properly disconnect all these, the water.
Right.
Take all this out of there. Get locates because it may be something else. So
Right. So there's a lot of steps, and we just ask people to be patient. But Clay, we appreciate you and your team giving us this information. We look forward to finding out what you find out,
Yes,
and we'll have you back on so we can kind of give an update on
Yes, sir.
some of the steps people can take.
I'll be more than glad to.
We appreciate it very, very much. He's Clay Naquin, Terrebonne Parish Director of Solid Waste and Vegetation, taking care of things, and we're still picking up routine, getting things out like we would normally do,
Yes.
right? Very cool. Clay, we appreciate it very, very much. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more Bayou Time right here on HTV.